I wish I could say it started when they planted the drugs. But honestly, it started long before that. You don't go from family dinner to felony overnight. It's more like a slow leak in the ceiling. You don't notice it until the whole thing caves in on your head. I'm 27. I deliver groceries for a living. Not glamorous, but it pays enough for rent, gas, and cheap takeout. I live in a damp little basement apartment about 20 miles from where I grew up. I don't talk to most people from my past. Not because I'm bitter, but because I'm tired. My mom and stepdad weren't what you'd call obvious addicts. No missing teeth, no passed out on the lawn type of drama. They held jobs, paid bills, even hosted the occasional barbecue. But behind closed doors, things got weird. Pills went missing. Money vanished. Conversations never made sense. I learned how to shrink myself and stay out of the way. That all came to a head one Tuesday night. I came home from a long shift, double orders, spilled soda in the back seat, the usual, and found them both sitting on the couch like statues. My mom asked if I'd seen her prescription. I said no. Mike, my stepdad, stood up too fast. Told me not to lie. His eyes were glassy, mean. I went to my room, shut the door, and tried to ignore the tension. A few hours later, cops were at the door. They said they got a call about illegal substances. They asked if they could search my room. I was too stunned to say anything. One of them said they had probable cause. The next thing I knew, I was sitting on my bedroom floor, wrists zip-tied, heart racing. And then I saw it through the tiny crack in the door. My mom, Mike, standing in the hallway, watching, smirking. I will never forget that smirk. Not because it was evil, but because it looked satisfied. Like they finally got what they wanted. I just didn't know what that was yet. But the officers saw it too. One of them paused, looked toward the hallway, and frowned. They started asking more questions. Not to me, but to them. It didn't take long. They ran tests. Blood work. The officers pulled me aside and told me I was clean. My parents weren't. They found out my mom and Mike were high during the whole thing. They let me go that night. My hands were still shaking when they cut the zip ties. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I just packed a bag and left. I found the place on Craigslist. $650 a month, utilities included, no lease required. It smelled like mildew and old takeout when I first walked in. The pipes moaned at night. But it had a door that locked and nobody screaming behind it, so I took it. The landlord was a guy named Jeff. Bald, always eating sunflower seeds, didn't ask too many questions. I think he knew I wasn't coming from something good, but he didn't push. Just handed me the key and said, "No loud music, no drama, rent by the 3rd. I slept for 2 days straight when I moved in. After everything that happened, it was like my body finally had permission to shut down. For the first time in years, I didn't have to listen for footsteps in the hallway. I didn't have to hide my wallet or lock the bathroom cabinet. No one barged into my room to accuse me of things I didn't do. It was quiet. That kind of quiet that feels like a bruise healing. I kept to myself. Delivery driving kept me busy, and I liked it. No coworkers. No one asking personal questions. Just me, my car, and the grocery bags. Sometimes I'd park behind a strip mall and eat lunch in the front seat with the windows cracked, just watching people live their lives. I didn't tell anyone what happened, not even the couple friends I still had. It felt too big to explain without sounding insane. What kind of parents frame their own daughter and smile while doing it? I didn't want sympathy. I wanted silence. Space. Time to think without being gaslit. At night, I'd lie on the lumpy mattress, staring at the ceiling, wondering how far gone they had to be to pull something like that. And then I'd remind myself it didn't matter anymore. I was out. I told myself that over and over. You're out. You're safe. They can't hurt you here. And for a while I believed it. It showed up on a Thursday. Just sitting in my mailbox, plain white envelope, no return address. The handwriting on it was familiar enough to make my stomach drop. My mom's. I stood in the hallway staring at it for a while. Part of me wanted to rip it in half and toss it straight in the trash. But my hands didn't listen. I brought it inside, sat on the floor next to the heater and opened it. The letter was long. Too long. Pages filled with apologies, promises, therapy jargon, and a timeline of all the meetings she'd supposedly gone to. She said she'd been clean for 8 months. Said Mike was clean too. Said they missed me. She even wrote things like, "I know we messed up badly, and I understand if you never want to speak to us again." But it was laced with hope. Hope that maybe I would. That I could forgive them. Come visit. Stay a while. I read it 3 times. The third time, I noticed a second slip of paper folded inside. It was from Mike. Just a few lines. Sloppy handwriting. Not his usual angry scrawl, just tired. Said he was sorry for what happened. That he couldn't believe he'd let it go that far. That I didn't deserve any of it. That he hoped I was okay. And that was the worst part. Because for a second, I believed him. I sat there for a long time, holding both letters. My fingers started to cramp, but I didn't move. I wanted to hate them. God, I really did. But all that letter did was make me ache. Because if there was even a 1% chance they meant it, how could I just ignore it? The next day I put the letter in a drawer and went to work. I didn't decide anything. I didn't write back. But I didn't throw it away either. And that scared me more than anything. It took me 3 weeks to respond. I didn't write back. I called. Her voice sounded softer than I remembered. Calmer. Like someone trying to hold still in church. She didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't beg. She just said, "Thank you for calling." We talked for 5 minutes. Mostly small things, how work was going, if I was eating enough, how she was keeping busy. She told me the house was different now. Quieter. Safer. She said Mike was going to meetings twice a week, and she went 3 times. Said they hadn't used in months. I didn't ask for proof. I didn't want any. I just wanted to believe her. The next weekend I visited. Same driveway. Same porch. Same chipped flower pot by the steps. But when the front door opened, something felt off. Not in a dangerous way. Just unfamiliar. The tension I remembered, that buzzing wire feeling in the air. It wasn't there. Not yet. She hugged me like she hadn't seen sunlight in years. I let her. Mike barely looked at me. He just nodded and went back to the living room. That was fine with me. We had dinner. Chicken and rice. She made too much on purpose, like always. She asked if I wanted to stay the night, and I hesitated for a second too long, but then nodded. Sleeping in that house again felt like borrowing someone else's skin. Everything was technically the same, my old room, my bed, the posters I left behind, but it didn't belong to me anymore. I didn't belong there either. But for some reason, I didn't leave. The next morning, she made pancakes. Mike said, "Morning," like we hadn't lost a year to lies. I sat there, eating, nodding, pretending we were normal people having a normal breakfast. And for a moment, I almost believed we were. I ended up staying. At first, just for the weekend. Then one more night. Then another. Before I knew it, my stuff was back in the closet like it never left. The weird part? It was quiet. Like, genuinely quiet. No screaming at 2 a.m., no locked doors, no accusations flying across the kitchen. It was almost boring. And boring felt like a miracle. My mom would sit with me in the mornings, drinking coffee and asking about my routes. Mike mostly kept to himself, watching TV or messing around in the garage. We had a routine. Groceries on Tuesdays. Laundry on Sundays. Chicken night every Thursday. One night, we even played cards. There was this little part of me, one I kept buried deep, that started whispering, maybe this is what healing looks like. Maybe they really changed. I didn't tell anyone I moved back. Not my friends, not my coworkers. I didn't want to explain. I didn't want their reactions, their warnings, their "are you serious?" faces. I needed it to be mine, even if it was temporary. Still, there were cracks. I noticed empty beer cans in the garage that didn't match the clean image. My mom got twitchy if I asked where she was going. Once, I saw Mike's hand shake when he lit a cigarette. But I ignored it, because the truth is I wanted this to work. I was so tired of being angry, of flinching at every memory. I wanted to sit on the couch without tension curling in my spine. I wanted to believe they were trying. And for 30 days, I let myself have that. 30 days of breakfasts and board games. Of folded laundry and sitcoms. 30 days of lying to myself in the name of hope. It was a Thursday. Chicken night. I was running late after a stacked shift. 2 deliveries across town. One woman who made me wait 20 minutes because her gate wouldn't open. I pulled into the neighborhood just after 9, tired and craving food that didn't come in a paper bag. But something was off. Even before I turned onto their street, I saw the lights. Red and blue, pulsing like a heartbeat. Several cruisers. An ambulance. People standing on lawns, arms crossed, faces blank. My stomach dropped before I even put the car in park. I got out slowly, like my body already knew what was coming and didn't want to catch up. As I walked closer, I heard it, my mom's voice, screaming from inside the house. We didn't do anything. I stopped. Didn't move. Couldn't. A neighbor I didn't recognize looked at me and said, "You live there?" I didn't answer. A cop stepped forward, recognized me, and gently motioned me back. Said it wasn't safe, that things had escalated quickly. Later, I'd learned that Mike had a friend over. They got high together. Argued. The friend had more product and didn't want to share. Mike lost it. One punch. The guy went down. Hit his head on the edge of the coffee table. Cerebral hemorrhage. Died at the hospital. Mike was arrested on the spot. My mom was placed under house arrest. She tested positive for multiple substances. And me? I stood outside that house for over an hour, staring at the front door like it might turn back into the place I pretended it was. But it never had been. Nobody cried that night. Not the neighbors, not the cops, not even my mother. I stood outside for a while, watching the flashing lights wash over the neighborhood like waves. You'd think the sirens would have made it feel urgent, like some kind of alarm going off in your soul. But I didn't feel anything. Not panic, not sadness, not even shock. I was just numb. When they brought Mike out, he didn't resist. Didn't say a word. He looked like a mannequin, pale, unshaven, wearing a dirty t-shirt and socks with no shoes. His eyes were unfocused, as if he wasn't fully there. Maybe he hadn't been for years. When the cop helped him duck into the cruiser, his head tilted slightly, like he was about to fall asleep. I didn't flinch. Inside the house, my mom was sitting on the couch, wrists cuffed behind her. Her face was slack, empty, but I could see her trying to pull up some version of a reaction. Regret, maybe. Fear. But it wouldn't come. She just sat there, looking more annoyed than devastated, like she'd missed a bus. One of the officers moved around her, collecting evidence. Another one stood at the door like a guard. I stood behind him, staring at the woman who once used to brush my hair before school. I couldn't feel anything that resembled love. All I could think was, you brought me back into this. A neighbor I didn't know offered me a blanket. I took it even though I wasn't cold. My body was still in fight or flight, but my brain had already flown. Someone else asked if I had anyone to call. I wanted to laugh. I didn't even have anyone I could text. Eventually, a young officer, maybe my age, maybe younger, asked if I had somewhere to go. Elite. Said yes. She looked like she didn't believe me, but she didn't push. Before I left, I walked back inside one last time. The smell hit me first, like burnt rubber, weed, and something faintly metallic I didn't want to identify. There was blood on the coffee table, soaked into the wood. It looked small, but I knew what it meant. My mom turned her head when she saw me. Her voice came out dry, like it hurt to speak. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," she said. I didn't say anything. What was there left to say? I went to the hallway closet, grabbed the same duffel I'd never fully unpacked, and slung it over my shoulder. I didn't look at her again. When I stepped outside, the blanket was still wrapped around me. I got in my car, turned the key, and stared through the windshield for what felt like an hour. Then I pulled away. Slowly. Carefully. And I didn't look back. It came a month after the sentencing. Plain white envelope. Same handwriting. No return address. I didn't need to open it to know who it was from. By then, everything was official. I sat in the back row of the courtroom while Mike stood there in a suit that didn't fit, eyes empty, jaw clenched like he was trying to hold something together that had already fallen apart. Second-degree manslaughter. 10 years. No chance of parole for 5. He pled out, didn't even look at me once. My mom didn't speak during the hearing. Just cried in that practiced, pitiful way she always had. The kind that used to make people lean in and feel sorry for her. But not anymore. Not me. Not the judge. Maybe not even her. She got house arrest, 5 years probation, and mandatory drug counseling. She wore the same cardigan every time I saw her in court. Pale pink. Too soft for the truth. After it was over, I walked out and didn't say a word to either of them. I didn't wait around. I didn't look back. The letter showed up exactly 32 days later. By then I was renting a small studio above a garage 15 minutes outside of town. Smelled like paint and sawdust and something else old I couldn't name, but it was mine. It didn't come with memories. It didn't come with smirks through doorways or sirens in the night. I was working as much as I could. Deliveries, weekend shifts, night runs. Anything to keep me out of my own head. That night, I came home and saw it on the floor, slipped under my door. My landlord must have dropped it there. The tape was peeled up at the corner like someone had tried to peek inside. I didn't pick it up. Not right away. I made pasta. Ate standing at the counter. Took a shower, so hot it made my skin itch. crawled into bed, and scrolled my phone until my vision blurred. The next day, it was still there. On the third day, I sat at the table, just staring at it. I already knew what it said. I could picture the sentences: "I'm so sorry. We miss you. Please don't hate me." Followed by some story about how Mike had a hard life, or how she was just trying to hold things together. Same script, different act. I slid it into the drawer, with the other ones. Lit a candle just to give myself something to focus on. I watched the flame for a few minutes, then blew it out. And that was that. I kept working. Grocery runs, pharmacy pickups, fast food deliveries to half-asleep college kids and lonely old women. The hours blurred together. I liked it that way. The more tired I was, the less space I had for memories. But the dreams still came. Not every night, but often enough. I'd wake up drenched in sweat, heart pounding, with that old hallway flashing behind my eyelids, the couch, the coffee table, my mom's voice somewhere in the background, saying something I could never quite make out. Sometimes the dream ended before it began. Sometimes I woke up crying. Sometimes I didn't feel anything at all. That was worse. There were good days, though. Days when I'd roll the windows down while driving, music loud, sun hitting my face, and I'd feel something close to freedom. I'd pick up a smoothie on the way home, eat dinner on the floor with a blanket and a dumb show on in the background. Simple stuff, but mine. One morning, I got a text from an old friend I hadn't talked to in years. She'd seen something in the local news about the sentencing. Just said, "Hey, I'm sorry. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." I stared at it for a long time. Didn't respond. But I didn't delete it either. That same week, I went through the drawer. The one with the letters. I read one. Just one. It was the first one. The one with the neat handwriting, the apology, the "I know we messed up" line that used to sting. But this time it felt hollow. Like someone reading a script. I put it back in the envelope and slid it under the others. Then I pulled the whole stack out, walked to the backyard, and lit the fire pit. I didn't make it dramatic. No tears, no speeches. Just flame and paper and ash. It took less than 10 minutes for all of it to burn. Years of guilt, manipulation, fake promises, gone in the time it takes to cook a frozen pizza. I went back inside, washed my hands, and made tea. I didn't feel free, but I felt lighter. And maybe that was enough. It was a Tuesday late afternoon, and I was in the middle of folding laundry when the phone rang. Not my cell. The landline I'd never even used. It came with the studio, and I kept it plugged in mostly out of habit or laziness. Only ever got spam calls or wrong numbers. But that day, when it rang, I picked it up without thinking. Her voice was like a ghost. "Emily." I didn't answer right away. I just stood there, towel in hand, not breathing. "It's Mom," she said, like I might not recognize her. "I'm still under supervision, but I got permission to use the phone. I just wanted to hear your voice." She sounded older. Not fragile, but distant, like someone calling from the bottom of a well. There was space in her words I didn't remember. Like guilt had started to rot the inside of her voice. I didn't know what to say. My brain scrambled for some kind of reply, but nothing came out. So she kept talking. She said she'd been sober almost 6 months. That she was going to group every Tuesday and Saturday. That she started painting again. That she wanted to try and be a person I could forgive. "I know I don't deserve to ask," she said, "but I'm asking anyway." And still I said nothing. I didn't hang up. I didn't speak. I just listened as she exhaled into the silence. "I'm sorry," she whispered, and the phone clicked. She hung up. I put the towel down and sat on the edge of my bed for a long time. Maybe an hour. Maybe more. No music, no background noise. Just me and the sound of the cars passing on the street outside. And here's the part that haunts me. For a few minutes, I wanted to call her back. Not because I forgave her. Not because I missed her. But because something inside me still wanted the story to end with a mother and daughter figuring it out. Because there's a part of me, the same part that believed her letters, that believed the quiet month in that house, that still hopes people mean it when they say they've changed. But I didn't call her back. I just let it ring in my head for the rest of the night. That phone call was the last time I heard her voice. She didn't call again. No more letters, no messages. Maybe she finally understood. Maybe someone at her meetings told her that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is leave someone alone. Or maybe she just gave up. I don't know, and I've stopped trying to figure it out. That's the truth. It's been almost a year now. The seasons have turned over twice. I've moved again a little farther out, to a place with more trees and fewer memories. The studio had started to feel too much like a holding pattern. Like I was waiting for something I couldn't name. Now, I have a small one-bedroom with a crooked porch and creaky stairs and a cat I didn't plan to adopt but couldn't leave behind. His name is Birch. He's grumpy, opinionated, and absolutely nothing like the people I come from. Sometimes I still wake up in a sweat. I still check the locks more than I need to. I still feel that pull. The one that whispers, what if they're really different this time? But it's quieter now. Easier to ignore. The truth is, I don't hate them. That would be simpler. Hate is clean. What I feel is heavier. It's grief for a mother I wanted but never had. For a home that only ever existed in my imagination. For the version of me that kept trying to make it work. But grief is honest. Grief has boundaries. And I've learned to live with it. Sometimes, when the sun is just right and I'm drinking my coffee on the porch, I let myself believe that maybe that version of my mom, the kind one, the sober one, the one who meant her apologies, maybe she exists somewhere, in some timeline I don't get to live in. But not here. Not now. And I've made peace with that. I didn't go back. And I'm not going to.